The crowd erupted around him, but Lucas Grant froze. His phone had just killed the game. The arena shook with noise. It was Game 6 of the NBA Finals, and Lucas Grant was sitting courtside. Prime seats, the kind reserved for the winners behind the curtain. He should have felt invincible. But as the ball bounced and cheers thundered, Lucas's world narrowed to one screen. Watch till the end, and then tell me if I went too far. He stared at the text again. You're done. Terminated. Effective. Monday. HR will handle the exit. Nothing personal. Martin Rhodes. The words blurred for a second, then hardened. No preamble, no phone call, not even a meeting. Just a message, short and surgical, sent by the man whose company Lucas had helped grow to dominance over the past 9 years. He didn't move. The fans around him jumped, cheered, cursed at a missed free throw. Lucas sat still, phone gripped tight, expression blank. He had been preparing notes for Monday's board update. Now, there would be no Monday, no boardroom, no desk. He felt the shift beside him before hearing the voice. You all right? Lucas looked up. Calvin Drake, CEO of Titan Core, their fiercest competitor, was watching him with casual interest, a bottle of still water resting loosely between his fingers. Lucas's instincts kicked in, smoothing over the chaos inside. Game's intense, he said, tone even. Calvin raised an eyebrow. Sure, he replied, not pressing. But he saw it. Lucas could tell. Men like Calvin didn't miss a beat. Just days earlier, Lucas had closed a $600 million private equity round, making Rhodes Capital the lead advisor in a transaction that had reshaped a segment of the financial tech space. Martin had smiled, raised his glass, and called him indispensable. Now, this. Lucas exhaled slowly, long and invisible. No outburst, no scene, just analysis. Martin had timed this with intent. Public stage, peak exposure, impossible to retaliate without appearing unprofessional. The humiliation wasn't a byproduct, it was the point. But why now? He didn't get to finish that thought. Calvin leaned closer, voice quieter. Need a new seat? Lucas smirked, barely. I think I might need a whole new arena. Calvin's eyes lit with a gleam. Respect or interest, Lucas wasn't sure. Maybe both. He turned back to the court, but the line was already cast. The rest of the game blurred. Lucas watched bodies move across the hardwood, plays unfolding, but none of it registered. His mind replayed every meeting with Martin from the past year. The shifts in tone, the sudden HR policy changes, the tighter access controls on project data. He should have seen it coming. But it didn't matter now. The blow had landed. Lucas wasn't concerned with wounds anymore. He was already calculating the next move. Lucas didn't answer calls. He made one instead. The sun hadn't fully risen over Los Angeles when he left the hotel, dressed in jeans and a plain black shirt, a look that made him disappear into any crowd. The world still hadn't learned what had happened at the game the night before, and Lucas intended to keep it that way. For now. His phone lit up with notifications, calls from the office, messages from confused colleagues, an email from HR titled Separation Protocol. He ignored them all. Control came from restraint, not reaction. As he walked down a quiet street in Westwood, he opened a secure app and tapped one contact, Ryan Monroe. The call was brief. Ryan answered on the second ring. You got the file? Lucas asked. Check your private inbox. Also, you were right. Martin started locking down systems after midnight. They're moving fast. Lucas ended the call without a word. Minutes later, a secure email came through with a zip file. It contained 3 documents and 1 recording. An internal memo showing that the deal Lucas had just closed had been artificially inflated to create a fall guy. And that fall guy was him. He booked a one-way ticket to San Francisco. Before boarding, He texted back one word: received. Calvin Drake was waiting when Lucas arrived. The Titan Corps headquarters towered in chrome and glass over downtown, yet the room they met in was quiet, understated, a signal that this wasn't about appearances. Calvin didn't waste time. "You disappeared last night." Lucas sat across from him, eyes steady. "I was thinking." "And now?" "Now, I'm listening." Calvin leaned forward, sliding a folder across the table. "Titan's expansion into the Northeast is accelerating. We need someone who knows Rhodes Capital from the inside. Systems, people, priorities. You. You think I'll work for you?" "No," Calvin said. "I think you want a front row seat for what happens next, and I can give you a better view than anyone." Lucas didn't reply. He opened the folder and scanned the executive plan. Titan was preparing to acquire distressed assets in New York, which meant they were betting on a collapse. Not luck. Strategy. As he read, a thought crystallized. He didn't need revenge. He needed leverage. This wasn't about returning fire. It was about redirecting it. He closed the folder and stood. "If I do this, I do it my way. No press. No leaks. Silence is the strategy." Calvin smiled. "Then we're aligned." Later that night, Lucas sat in his temporary apartment and opened the recording Ryan had sent. Martin's voice crackled through the speaker. "We'll make it look like Lucas forced the valuation spike. HR will push it through before Monday. He'll never see it coming." Lucas paused the audio. He stared at the screen, his expression unreadable. Then he deleted the file from his local device and uploaded it to an encrypted server. He wasn't angry. He wasn't surprised. He was ready. Calvin placed a plan on the table. "We're building a new arena. Want to lead it?" Some doors close quietly. Others are kicked open, with evidence. Lucas arrived in New York under a different name, checked into a private co-working suite in Midtown, and set up shop with nothing but a laptop, a burner phone, and the kind of silence that unnerves powerful men. He didn't announce anything. No social media, no email signature. His old office had frozen his accounts, but they hadn't counted on what he kept offline. The plan was simple: destabilize Martin's credibility without appearing. The first call he made was to Noah Bennett, a longtime institutional client who had pulled in over $300 million through Rhodes Capital, and someone Lucas had personally built trust with over 5 years. Noah agreed to meet under one condition: no cameras, no headlines. Lucas chose a discreet cafe in Tribeca, the kind with no windows facing the street, and espresso so strong it could make a man confess. Noah arrived first. He stood when Lucas walked in. "You look better than I expected," he said. Lucas gave a half smile. "I'm not bleeding, just calculating." They talked business for 15 minutes, neutral topics, market shifts, AI trends, before Noah leaned forward. "I've heard whispers. You're not gone by choice, are you?" Lucas reached into his satchel and slid a printed spreadsheet across the table. It detailed inconsistencies in the fintech deal valuation, the same deal Martin used to frame him. "Look at the red columns," Lucas said quietly. "Those numbers were modified after approval. The metadata says midnight. That's when they prepped my termination." Noah's face darkened. "Is this real?" "Check the timestamp. I never touched those files after the final sign-off. IT logs prove it." Noah didn't speak for a moment. Then he folded the page slowly. "If what you're showing me is accurate, Rhodes Capital is in deeper trouble than the press will know." Lucas sipped his coffee. "They think this will stay buried." Noah looked up. "And you want me to unbury it?" "No," Lucas said. "I want you to hesitate." Confusion flickered in Noah's eyes. "Don't renew your advisory agreement. Don't pull your account. Just pause. Let Martin squirm while he loses air." Noah leaned back, impressed. "You're not hitting him. You're choking the supply line." Exactly. As they stood to leave, Noah offered his hand. If this leads somewhere, I want first rights to join the fallout. Lucas nodded once. Outside, he called Ryan. Send Noah the recording. Use a masked domain. That night, back in the apartment, Lucas watched the news as financial networks speculated about instability at Rhodes. It was still a whisper campaign. No accusations, no names. But the timing was perfect. Lucas smiled faintly, uploaded another encrypted file, and hit schedule. Noah would find it in his inbox by morning. It's already in your inbox. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because what I'm about to reveal next is wild. Some people fight in daylight. Lucas built his revenge in the shadows. He moved through San Francisco like a ghost. No office badge, no social media, just access. Calvin had arranged for a private wing inside Titan Corps' headquarters. Soundproofed, unbranded, and off-grid. No one outside a 6-person circle even knew he was in the building. That was how Lucas wanted it. Quiet gave him clarity, and clarity was the sharpest blade in a war like this. He didn't need fireworks. He needed rot exposed at the root. The internal documents Ryan had uncovered were enough to start. Lucas built a timeline of manipulated files, data anomalies, and personnel transfers, each one cross-verified with source logs and timestamps. At the center of it all was Martin Rhodes, pushing through false valuations, redirecting risk, and leaving Lucas's name as the scapegoat on every signed document. Lucas didn't rush. He studied each thread until it unraveled on its own. Then he handed the data to a contact at Financial Ledger, under an alias and through a layered proxy system. The story wouldn't be a bombshell. It would be a leak, a fracture in the dam that Martin had built around himself. While the media bait was being set, Lucas coordinated with Titan's comms director behind closed doors. They created a rapid response protocol. When Rhodes' clients began to panic, and they would, Titan would be first to offer them a lifeboat. "You're not just dismantling a man," Calvin told him. "You're absorbing his kingdom." Lucas didn't respond. He wasn't doing this for Titan. He was doing it because Martin had gambled on the wrong kind of silence. Meanwhile, Ryan stayed embedded inside Rhodes. Every encrypted chat came with a new breadcrumb, meeting notes, policy changes, panic in the legal department. Then, the crown jewel arrived, a voice recording. In it, Martin's voice was unmistakable, cool and confident. "Just pin it on Lucas. He won't be able to push back. By the time he tries, we'll be clear of it." Another voice, likely the chief legal officer, responded. "What if it leaks?" Martin laughed. "Then we'll leak something worse first. Every wolf needs a decoy." Lucas played the file 3 times before archiving it. This wasn't about proving Martin's guilt anymore. It was about timing. He needed to show that Martin didn't just betray a colleague. He systematically weaponized the company to protect himself. And now, the damage was already spreading. Within 72 hours of the leak, 3 major clients froze all new transactions with Rhodes. Their PR team scrambled to deny wrongdoing, but the cracks were already visible. Financial Ledger ran a quiet headline. "Rhodes Capital faces internal audit after questionable disclosures." It was polite, clinical, and deadly. In a conference room at Titan Corps, Calvin slid the newspaper across the table. "This is going to get loud." Lucas didn't look up. Let it. He had already uploaded the next document dump. Not enough to trigger legal action, but enough to guarantee the shareholders would demand an emergency meeting. When that meeting came, Martin wouldn't be able to hide behind charm or spin. He would be forced to explain the deals, the timing, the exits, and why so many of them traced back to Lucas's files. Later that night, Lucas stood alone in the executive suite, watching the lights of the city blink across the bay. He wasn't angry. He wasn't satisfied either. What he felt was alignment between what was taken from him and what he was about to reclaim. The messages from his former colleagues kept coming, some with regret, some with panic. He replied to none. He didn't need to say a word. By the time they understood what he'd done, it would already be irreversible. The news alert lit up his screen just past midnight. Rhodes Capital accused of internal data manipulation. Sources say high-level cover-up involved. Lucas stared at the headline, eyes unreadable. Calvin's voice echoed faintly in his mind. "We're building a new arena. Want to lead it?" He hadn't answered then. He looked at the screen one last time and turned it off. He didn't need to. The next move would speak for itself. Calvin smiled. "Well, lucky for you. I own one. You don't win in the media. You win in the boardroom, with facts that bleed." The meeting was held behind closed doors, high above Manhattan, where the floor-to-ceiling windows reflected nothing but storm clouds. Martin Rhodes looked composed, but the tension beneath his skin betrayed him. The board had called an emergency session to review recent market concerns. That was the phrase they used. What it meant was, explain yourself, or you're done. Martin came prepared, with charm, denials, and a thick binder of alternative facts. He began the meeting with confident gestures, blaming targeted misinformation and malicious sources, trying to destabilize the firm. He pointed to strong quarterly numbers, investor loyalty, and market resilience. For a moment, he almost sounded convincing. Then the folder arrived, hand-delivered by the board secretary, sealed in neutral gray, with no sender listed. Inside were 2 documents and a printed transcript of an audio file. The room shifted. Silence thickened. A senior director began reading aloud the time-stamped conversation, Martin's own voice, calmly instructing legal counsel to scapegoat Lucas and fabricate liability. His words landed like broken glass across a polished table. Martin's face drained, then twisted in a controlled frown. This is taken out of context. But he didn't know where it had come from. That's what made him dangerous before. Certainty. Now he had none. Outside, news of the leak was escalating. Clients were pulling back. One headline read, "Third largest fintech fund, severs ties with Rhodes." That fund belonged to Noah Bennett. The impact was seismic. Over $100 million in expected revenue vanished within hours. The board members didn't yell. They didn't accuse. They just watched the numbers. And when the time came, they voted. The motion passed. Martin was suspended indefinitely pending legal review. His access revoked. His name removed from all official communications. It wasn't dramatic. It was surgical. A man who built his empire on perception had just lost the illusion. One of the directors closed the meeting with a quiet warning. "You may want to seek independent counsel before you speak again." Martin didn't respond. He didn't even pack up his materials. He just stood, walked out, and left the door open behind him. Across the city, Lucas sat in a nondescript workspace, watching the minutes of the meeting update in real time through a secure relay. He didn't smile. He didn't gloat. He simply closed the window and opened a new one. Titan's client migration dashboard. Green lights across the board. Systems were holding. Clients were moving. His phone buzzed once. A message from Calvin. He's out. Lucas put his glass down on the table, the ice clicking softly in the silence, and didn't move. He lost a job in public. Now he gains power behind closed doors. The announcement came quietly. No headlines, no press release. Just an internal memo circulated within Titan Corp. Lucas Grant would assume the role of Chief Operating Officer for U.S. markets, effective immediately. The title didn't matter. What mattered was control. For the first time since the betrayal, Lucas stood at the center of the game board, not as a player, but as the one setting the rules. He walked into his new office, glass-walled, overlooking the same skyline where he'd once been erased, and took nothing with him but silence. Calvin welcomed him with a nod. No speeches, no ceremony. Just a handoff and a simple statement. "The floor is yours now." Lucas spent the morning reviewing transition documents, meeting with the core teams, and activating contingency protocols to absorb Rhodes' clients seamlessly. No one questioned his authority. He didn't demand it. He embodied it. The team worked faster under his watch, sharper, quieter. Efficiency followed clarity, and Lucas brought both. At noon, he stepped into the strategy briefing. Charts, projections, legal outlines, they all aligned. Titan wasn't just taking market share. They were acquiring influence. What Rhodes tried to build through shortcuts and deception, Lucas was rebuilding through precision and discipline. Calvin joined him at the end of the meeting. "You're not here to prove anything, are you?" Lucas looked at the wall-sized display behind them, red figures turning green, noise becoming order. "I didn't come back to prove. I came back to replace." Later, as the sun dropped below the bay, an assistant placed an envelope on his desk. Inside was a single item, a ticket to next year's NBA Finals, VIP seating, same spot as last time. Lucas turned it over, expression unreadable. The seat hadn't changed, but everything else had. He placed the ticket in a drawer, locked it, and stood. Across the screen, a live feed showed Rhodes Capital's press conference. Restructuring, leadership shakeup, partial acquisition by Titan Core. Martin Rhodes's name wasn't mentioned once. Lucas entered the boardroom, his boardroom now, where the next quarter's agenda awaited. The same room where once decisions had been made without him. Let's begin. When the final decision was made behind closed doors, there was no applause, just quiet accountability. Lucas Grant didn't roar back. He rewired the battlefield, exposed the rot, and took back control without firing a single public shot. Justice, when it moves silently, often cuts the deepest. Like a shadow returning to its rightful place under the light, his revenge wasn't loud, it was precise. Because in the end, truth doesn't chase applause. It waits, and when it strikes, it doesn't miss. Follow if you've ever been underestimated. That's how every great revenge begins.